If you think disappearing is as easy as getting a fake mustache and a bus ticket, you're in for a big surprise. We are peeling back the curtain on the clandestine world of WITSEC and the absurd legal hoops people jump through to vanish forever. From government-mandated plastic surgery to the forced abandonment of your professional career, get ready for a deep dive into the world's most secretive vanishing acts. This is what it truly costs to become a ghost in the modern world. 1. In the United States, if you enter the Witness Security Program, or WITSEC, the government doesn't just give you a new name. They can legally provide you with a completely fabricated academic and professional history. Imagine being a high school dropout who suddenly has a legitimate-looking diploma from a prestigious university and a decade of experience in mid-level management. It sounds like a dream until you realize you actually have to do the job without knowing what a spreadsheet is. Would you trust a surgeon who got his license from a federal agent in a parking lot? 2. Under certain international relocation protocols, witnesses who are moved to new countries are often forbidden from practicing their original hobbies if those hobbies are too distinctive. If you were a champion ice carver or the world's leading expert on 17th century French poetry, you can kiss those chainsaws and books goodbye. The marshals believe your unique passions are basically breadcrumbs for hitmen. You're forced to adopt beige hobbies instead, like watching bird feeders or collecting unremarkable rocks. Is living a boring life worth your safety, or would you rather go out in a blaze of artistic glory? 3. One of the most frustratingly specific rules in the American WITSEC handbook involves debt. Contrary to popular belief, the government does not just snap its fingers and make your credit card bills disappear when you get a new identity. You are legally required to settle your outstanding debts or make arrangements to pay them back through a third party. The IRS and your local bank are apparently more relentless than the mob. You can hide from a cartel boss, but you cannot hide from a 19% APR on a used Honda Civic. 4. The Digital Nostalgia Protocol is perhaps the most heartless rule of all. It legally forbids you from keeping even a single digital or physical photo of your past life, including deceased relatives or childhood pets. If a marshal finds an old Polaroid tucked into a book during a random check, you can be kicked out of the program for a security breach. You are required to live in a house filled with stock photos of strangers to ensure you never accidentally show a piece of your real history to a neighbor. 5. In some European jurisdictions, witnesses entering a protection program are given a behavioral script they must follow for the first year. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a legal framework for their new life. If you were a loud, boisterous guy who loved karaoke, the government might legally require you to be a soft-spoken librarian type. Breaking character isn't just an acting fail, it's a breach of your protection agreement that could lead to your removal from the program. Imagine having to suppress your natural urge to tell a joke for the rest of your life just to stay breathing. 6. If you are a high-profile witness, the law allows the government to rewrite your physical appearance through mandatory plastic surgery. This isn't a Hollywood myth. It's a legal tool used when a witness's face is too famous or distinctive. The government pays for the nose job, the chin implant, or the ear pinning, and you are legally required to accept your new face. You look in the mirror and see a stranger, all because the law decided your original face was a liability. Could you handle looking at a stranger's face in the mirror every single morning? 7. If you have a distinctive tattoo, the law doesn't just suggest you cover it. In many jurisdictions, the government will legally mandate and pay for its surgical removal or alteration. A mom tattoo on your bicep is fine, but a specific gang symbol or a unique piece of custom art is a death sentence. The law treats your skin like a piece of evidence that needs to be tampered with. You might go into the program with a sleeve of memories and come out with a lot of scar tissue and a very generic-looking eagle. 8. There is a little-known rule regarding professional licenses for protected witnesses. If a witness is a licensed doctor, lawyer, or plumber, the government can facilitate the transfer of those credentials to their new identity without the usual public paper trail. However, this often requires the witness to retest in secret to prove they actually have the skills. Imagine being a surgeon with 20 years of experience, forced to take a basic medical exam in a secure basement while a guy with a Glock watches you. Talk about performance anxiety. 9. The psychological evaluations for identity changes are notoriously weird. Some programs legally require participants to undergo personality grooming. If your natural accent is too thick, say a heavy Boston Southie drawl, and you're being moved to Wyoming, you might be forced into speech therapy to sound more neutral. You are essentially paying the price of safety with the sound of your own voice. It's one thing to change your name, but would you be willing to give up the very way you speak just to survive? 10. In the early days of witness protection, the rules were so loose that some witnesses actually tried to sue the government for bad relocation. One famous case involved a witness who complained that the town he was moved to was too boring, and that his new house didn't have a good enough view. He genuinely expected a government-funded vacation lifestyle in exchange for his testimony. It takes a special kind of audacity to ask the people saving your life from assassins why the local pizza place doesn't deliver past 10 p.m. 11. If you're a professional athlete who enters witness protection, your career is effectively over by law. You cannot simply join a semi-pro league or even participate in high-stakes local tournaments because your physical stats and playing style are like a fingerprint. Imagine being a former NBA benchwarmer who is legally barred from joining a pickup game at the local YMCA because your crossover is too recognizable. You have to spend the rest of your life pretending you've never touched a basketball, watching from the sidelines while dying inside. 12. The government maintains a black book of locations that are strictly off-limits for relocation. These aren't just dangerous cities. They are places where the specific criminal organization you're hiding from has a historical or logistical stronghold. If you've always dreamed of retiring to a beach house in Florida, but the cartel you snitched on runs the local docks, the marshals will legally block that move. You might end up in a landlocked town in Nebraska, where the closest thing to an ocean is a very large puddle. 13. In the world of new identities, your birthday is often shifted just enough to be different, but close enough for you to remember. However, the law allows the government to change your age entirely if it helps your cover story. A 35-year-old witness could legally become a 29-year-old on paper to qualify for a specific entry-level job or training program. It's the only time the government will officially help you lie about your age, effectively granting you a bureaucratic fountain of youth. 14. If you are a witness with a significant social media following, the legal digital scrubbing process is brutal. The government doesn't just delete your accounts. They create a legal vacuum where your online presence never existed. This means years of photos, memories, and connections are incinerated by federal servers. For some modern witnesses, losing their digital identity is more traumatic than losing their physical one. The law views your Instagram aesthetic as a death warrant, and they will delete every single like to keep you breathing. 15. When it comes to inheritance, things get incredibly messy for the legally dead. If a relative passes away and leaves a fortune to your old identity, you cannot simply walk into a bank and claim it. The law requires a complex, secret mediation where the government acts as an intermediary to funnel the money into your new identity's accounts. If the process risks exposure, the government can legally bar you from receiving the inheritance altogether. Imagine watching your childhood home be sold on Zillow because claiming it would get you killed. 16. In some relocation cases, witnesses are legally required to undergo cultural immersion training if they are moved to a region with a vastly different lifestyle. A lifelong New Yorker moved to rural Alabama might be forced to learn local slang and social etiquette to avoid standing out like a sore thumb. If you fail to blend in, you are considered a security liability. It's essentially a government-mandated acting class where the stakes are life or death. Could you successfully pretend to be a cowboy for 20 years? 17. There is a specific legal protocol for witnesses who were previously incarcerated. Even if you are given a new identity, your criminal record follows you in a shadow file. This file is accessible only to high-level federal agencies, ensuring that while the public thinks you have a clean slate, the government knows exactly who you were. This prevents protected witnesses from joining the police force or gaining high-level security clearances. You get a second chance at life, but the government never truly forgets the person you used to be. 18. When a witness is relocated, the Marshal's Service often dictates the specific breed of dog they are allowed to keep. If you own a rare, prize-winning Tibetan Mastiff, that dog is a walking neon sign for anyone looking for you. Law enforcement might force you to trade your exotic pet for a generic shelter special that looks like every other mutt in the suburbs. It's an incredibly cold-blooded move. Sorry, Mr. Witness, but Fluffy is a security risk. Here is a golden retriever named Buddy. Don't let him do anything interesting. 19. The no-contact rule is a legal cornerstone of protection, but it's often broken in the most absurd ways. Witnesses have been kicked out of programs for trying to friend their old family members on Facebook using fake profiles. The law is clear. Any attempt to reach back into your old life voids your protection contract. The government spent 6 figures to hide you, and you threw it away for a happy birthday comment on your cousin's wall. Is one Facebook notification worth looking over your shoulder for the rest of your life? 20. Some protected witnesses are legally forbidden from ever returning to their hometown, even for a few hours. If a parent is dying, the marshals might arrange a safe meeting in a neutral, secure location, but the witness can never step foot on their old street. The law prioritizes the safety of the program's infrastructure over your emotional closure. You are effectively an exile in your own country, a person without a map back home. Should a dying wish trump national security protocols? 21. If you're an author or a musician, the law has a very specific and depressing copyright clause for your new life. You can still create art, but you are legally barred from claiming your previous body of work. If you wrote a bestseller in your old life, you can't walk into a bookstore, point at it, and tell your new friends, "Hey, that was me." To the world, that person is gone, and any royalties must be laundered through a series of shell companies or held in a blind trust. You have to live with the ego-crushing reality of being a nobody while your former self remains famous. 22. The educational reset rule is one of the most bizarre hurdles for younger witnesses. If a college student enters protection, the government often forces them to restart their degree from scratch at a new university. Transferring credits creates a digital paper trail that private investigators can sniff out in minutes. So, after 3 years of grueling engineering school, the law might say, "Congratulations, you're a freshman again, and this time you're majoring in communications." It's an academic nightmare that turns the best years of your life into a decade-long loop of introductory lectures. 23. Medical records are a massive security hole, so the law allows WITSEC to sanitize your health history. If you have a very specific, rare medical condition, the government might legally discourage you from seeing specialists in your new area who might recognize your unique case from medical journals. You are essentially forced to seek generic healthcare. Imagine having a world-class surgeon who knows your anatomy perfectly, but you're legally required to go to a local clinic where the doctor thinks rare means a stubborn cold. 24. There is a hilarious yet strict name selection protocol. You don't usually get to pick a name like Maximus Power or Starlight Moonbeam. The law encourages the use of incredibly common, boring names. Think Smith, Johnson, or Miller. If you try to pick something too flashy, the marshals will shut it down because being memorable is the absolute last thing a protected witness should be. You are legally mandated to be the most forgettable person in the room. Would you be okay with being Bob Smith for the next 50 years? 25. If you are a witness who happens to be a junior or carries a family name with centuries of history, the law requires you to sever that lineage immediately. You cannot pass your real family name down to your children born while in the program. Your kids will grow up with a surname that was essentially pulled out of a hat by a federal agent in a gray suit. You are effectively the end of your family tree, and your descendants will be the start of a completely fictional one. 26. For those in witness protection, jury duty is an absolute legal circus. If a protected witness gets a summons for jury duty under their new identity, the Marshals Service often has to step in and find a legal loophole to get them excused. The last thing the government wants is for a high-profile snitch to be sitting in a public courtroom, possibly being photographed or televised, while deciding the fate of another criminal. It's the only time in America where "I'm a secret federal witness" is a valid, though very complicated excuse to get out of jury service. 27. The marriage vow complication is a legal minefield. If a protected witness wants to marry someone who isn't in the program, they are often legally required to disclose their status to their future spouse under the supervision of federal agents. You can't just have a normal "how we met" story. Your fiancé has to sign a mountain of non-disclosure agreements and background checks. If they refuse to sign or fail the check, the government can legally forbid the marriage or kick you out of the program. Talk about a buzzkill for a marriage proposal. 28. In some extreme cases, the law allows for secondary relocation if a witness's cover is even slightly compromised. This isn't just moving to the next town, it's a total identity scrap and restart. If someone from your old life happens to walk into the same grocery store in Idaho, the marshals might pull you out that night, change your name again, and move you to Maine. Some witnesses have had 4 or 5 different identities over 2 decades. Could you handle waking up one morning and having to learn a completely new name for the 5th time? 29. If you win the lottery while in witness protection, the law doesn't just let you go on a shopping spree. Since lottery wins are public record and often require a press conference or a photo with a giant check, the government will legally block the payout until they can find a way to claim it anonymously. In some states, this is impossible, meaning you might have to choose between $50 million and your life. Most people would take the money and run. But in WITSEC, the running part is much harder when you're famous for winning the Powerball. 30. The digital ghost law extends even to your credit score. When you get a new social security number, you start with a credit score of 0. You are legally a thin file or a no-file individual. Even if you were a multimillionaire with perfect credit in your old life, you now can't even get a store credit card at a department store without the government co-signing or seeding your account with fake history. It's a humbling legal reality. You can be a key witness in the trial of the century, but you still can't get a loan for a sofa. Is a fresh start worth having the credit rating of a teenager? 31. If you are a parent in the witness security program, the law grants the government extraordinary power over your children's education. To prevent any digital or physical trail, the marshals can legally bar your kids from participating in interscholastic sports or school plays that might be filmed or photographed. Your son might be the next star quarterback, but the law says he has to stay on the sidelines because a single viral clip on TikTok could bring hitmen to your front door. It's a heartbreaking legal trade-off, keeping your children safe by stealing their chance to shine. 32. The sports degradation protocol is psychological warfare for die-hard fans. If you're a lifelong tattooed fan of a specific team, the government might move you into enemy territory and mandate that you adopt the local rival as your new team. You have to buy their hats, go to their games, and pretend to cheer when your actual favorite team loses. It's a deep-cover acting gig designed to make you look like a local, even if it feels like you're betraying your soul every Sunday. 33. Under the Relocation Employment Act, the government has the legal authority to place you in a job at a company that has a pre-existing Memorandum of Understanding with federal agencies. This means your boss might actually be briefed on your situation, or at least knows that your background check is handled by a higher power. You aren't just an employee, you're a legal liability sitting in a cubicle. Imagine the pressure of a performance review when your boss knows that if they fire you, the government has to spend another $200,000 to move you again. 34. If a protected witness dies of natural causes, their funeral is a legal nightmare. The law dictates that they must be buried under their new, fake name to maintain the integrity of the program for other participants. Their original family might not even be allowed to attend or know where the body is located. It is the ultimate commitment to the lie. You live as a ghost, and you are buried as a stranger in a plot paid for by the Department of Justice. 35. There is a bizarre legal restriction on public speaking. If you were a motivational speaker, a preacher, or a politician, the law effectively muzzles you for life. You are forbidden from engaging in any profession that requires you to be on a stage or in front of a camera. Your voice, your gestures, and your vibe are all considered identifiable assets that belong to your old, dead identity. You have to trade the spotlight for the shadows, living a life where your best stories can never be told to an audience. 36. The voter registration paradox is a classic example of bureaucratic insanity. To protect your identity, the law often allows you to vote using a special, confidential process that bypasses the public voter rolls. However, in some local elections, this is so difficult to coordinate that witnesses are simply strongly advised not to vote at all to avoid creating a paper trail. You've helped the government take down a criminal empire, but the law might effectively strip you of your right to choose the local school board. Is the silence of the lambs a fair price for democracy? 37. If you're a professional chef, the law might actually prevent you from opening your own restaurant. Why? Because food critics and foodie culture are relentless. If your signature sauce is too recognizable or your plating style is unique, a single review in a local paper could tip off the wrong people. You might be legally relegated to flipping burgers at a franchise where the menu is standardized, and your culinary genius is suppressed by a corporate handbook. Imagine being a Michelin star chef who is legally required to use pre-frozen fries. 38. The law regarding life insurance for witnesses is a tangled mess of death by proxy. When you enter the program, your original life insurance policy is often triggered or frozen because, legally, your old identity has ceased to exist. However, your family can't always collect the payout, because that would require a death certificate, which the government is hesitant to issue while you're still breathing. You are stuck in a legal limbo where you are too dead for a job but too alive for a payout. Who knew being a ghost was so expensive? 39. For witnesses who are moved internationally, there is the extradition loophole. If you commit a crime in your new country, your fake identity can be extradited back to your real home country for trial. This creates a terrifying legal scenario where your protection is stripped away by a judge because you couldn't follow the rules of your new home. The law gives you a shield, but it's a shield made of glass. One wrong move and it shatters, leaving you exposed to both the police and the people you snitched on. 40. One of the most secret legal protocols involves witness retirement. When a witness reaches old age, the government must ensure their medical power of attorney and end-of-life care are handled without revealing their origin. This often involves cleaning the records of nursing homes to ensure no curious nurse looks into why a 90-year-old man has no birth certificate or childhood photos. You live a lie, and the law ensures you die a lie, protected by a wall of paperwork until the very end. Can you truly rest in peace if your headstone has the wrong name on it? 41. In the United States, there is a legal provision that allows the government to seize your children's biological history. When you enter WITSEC, your children receive new birth certificates that list their new parents, you and your spouse under your aliases, as the original biological parents. This effectively erases their true ancestry from the legal record. If your child ever grows up and wants to do a DNA ancestry test to find their roots, they are often legally warned that doing so could trigger an alert at the Department of Justice. You aren't just hiding from the mob. You are legally deleting your family's entire past. 42. If you're a high-ranking competitive gamer, the law may require you to permanently delete your accounts and retire your playstyle. Cybersecurity experts warn that your specific patterns, like how you clear a room in a shooter, or your unique key binding layout, act as a digital fingerprint. A dedicated tracker could find you just by monitoring high-level lobbies for that one player who moves exactly like the dead pro. You're legally forced to play like a complete amateur for the rest of your life. 43. If you are a witness who is also a licensed pilot, the law essentially grounds you forever. The FAA's tracking systems and medical certifications are so rigorous and public that maintaining a pilot's license under a fake name is considered a massive security risk. Unless you're flying top-secret missions for the government, your days in the cockpit are over. The law views the sky as a place with nowhere to hide. You can have a new life on the ground, but the clouds are strictly off-limits. Would you give up the freedom of flight just to stay alive on Earth? 44. Under the Witness Relocation Act, the government can legally prevent you from ever suing anyone in civil court. If your neighbor's tree falls on your house or a local business scams you, filing a lawsuit creates a public record that could expose your new identity. The Marshal Service will often tell you to just suck it up and take the loss rather than risk a court appearance. You are legally a second-class citizen when it comes to the civil justice system. Is it really justice if you're too protected to defend your own property? 45. The law handles your digital death with clinical precision. In some cases, the government will legally compel internet service providers and tech giants to hand over all metadata associated with your old life, so it can be used to track if anyone is searching for you. You become a honeypot for your own enemies. If a hitman types your old name into a search engine, the feds know about it before the search results even load. You are the bait in a digital trap that never closes. 46. Did you know that in the US, the Marshal Service has a dedicated divorce and custody protocol for witnesses? If a protected witness wants to divorce their spouse, who might also be in the program, the proceedings are handled in a secret court to ensure no public records are created. This creates a legal paradox where two people are divorced in the eyes of the feds, but their old identities might still be married on paper in a county courthouse somewhere. It's the ultimate, it's complicated relationship status. Does a marriage even exist if the people in it don't technically exist anymore? 47. There is a very specific emergency extraction law that gives federal agents the right to enter your home and remove you by force if they believe your cover is blown, even if you disagree. You don't have the right to remain in your house if the marshals decide it's time to go. They can legally pack your life into a single suitcase in 10 minutes and vanish you to a new state before sunrise. Your right to property is completely superseded by their mandate to keep you breathing. 48. If you were a member of a professional guild or union, like the Screen Actors Guild or a powerful trade union, the law prevents you from claiming your pension through normal channels. These organizations often have public records of members. The government must set up a shell union profile to funnel your hard-earned pension credits into your new life. If the union leadership is corrupt or has ties to the people you snitched on, the law might just tell you that your pension is forfeited for safety. Imagine working 30 years only to have your retirement wiped out by a security protocol. 49. The ghost marriage protocol is a bizarre legal fix for witnesses who were mid-divorce when they entered protection. The law can essentially pause a divorce in the old world and finalize it in a secret federal court. This results in the witness being legally single in their new life while their old self might still be listed as married in a different state's records. It's a bureaucratic nightmare where you could technically be a bigamist if you don't follow the government's very specific, very secret instructions. We've covered 49 grueling steps to becoming a nobody, but before the final reveal, it's time for the final verdict. The award for the most soul-crushing rule goes to point 4, the Digital Nostalgia Protocol. Being legally forced to destroy every photo of your deceased parents or childhood pets is a level of psychological warfare that borders on cruelty. Is a safe life worth a memoryless existence? 50. Finally, the law regarding witness termination from the program, not life, is the most terrifying. If the government decides you are no longer in danger, or if you consistently break the rules, they can legally terminate your protection. They don't give you your old life back. That's gone. They just stop paying for your housing, stop answering your calls, and leave you in your new identity with no support. You are left as a fake person in a real world waiting for a past that never forgets to finally catch up with you. Is a life of constant fear actually better than no life at all? Becoming a ghost isn't just a legal maneuver, it's the total erasure of the human soul. You've seen the price. Your face, your past, and even your DNA belong to the state the moment you sign that paper. It makes you wonder about the strangers you pass on the street every single day. If you found out your spouse was actually a relocated hitman with a government-made soul, could you still sleep next to them? I look forward to your response in the comments. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.